When should you abandon ship on a location? Today on 10-Minute Food Truck Training, we are talking about when to pull the plug and start looking for greener pastures.
This episode is brought to you by Hyundai. Think you know what an electric vehicle should be? Think again. From the charge time and range in the Ioniq 5 and 6 to the 601 horsepower Ioniq 5N, Hyundai is redefining what EVs should be. Learn more about Hyundai EVs at HyundaiUSA.com. EPA estimated 303-mile driving range for 2024 Ioniq 5 SE SEL limited rear-wheel drive and 361-mile driving range for 2024 Ioniq 6 SE long-range rear-wheel drive with fully charged battery. Actual range may vary.
Hi, my name is Bill Moore, founder of FoodTruckTraining.group, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. Knowing when to leave a site can be a hard decision for some folks. You've grown accustomed to the area, you've spent some time, you've spent some money, you maybe even made some friends, and you've tried your best to make it work, so you have an attachment to that location, and that might blind your decision-making process. Deciding when to leave a location is just a mathematical choice. Nothing more, nothing less. Which takes us back to knowing your break-even point. If you don't already know your exact break-even point, I have a video on my Facebook group. The link is in the description. The break-even point is the dollar amount where your profit begins. I teach folks to break that dollar amount down into a guest count. And then more importantly, to include a modest salary that covers their own personal finances in with that break-even point. That way you as the owner are making something and you at least feel like the business is worth your time and effort. If you're expecting the business to support you on the profit side, you're going to be in for a lot of frustrating days. So if it takes $600 a day to break even and your average check is $15, that means you need 40 guests a day. Profit starts at guest number 41. So your marketing efforts have to generate at least 40 daily guests. Otherwise, you find yourself living off of cash flow. Living off of cash flow is generating sales today to pay a bill that's due today or maybe even that was due yesterday. Profit should be used for three things. One is to reinvest in the business, like buying new equipment, replacing marketing materials like flags and that type of thing. Two, it should be set aside for emergencies, like being closed for 2 weeks from a hurricane or having a lot of rain. So you're preparing for emergencies with some of the profits. And then the third thing profit should be used for is an owner bonus. The owner should make a salary, but then should also be given a bonus. This encourages you to go beyond whatever your break-even point is. A person may be able to live paycheck to paycheck, but a business cannot. So what should you do if you're not averaging your break-even sales? The first thing to do is market more, but in a different way. Clearly, if you're not averaging your break-even point, then your current marketing is failing you. Insanity is doing the same things over and over and over and expecting a different result. Change what you're doing. If you're in that position right now, contact me for a consultation. We'll get you on a program that'll improve your sales. And my contact information's in the description. Don't waste any more time. So we're going to take that $600 daily break-even point example. Ask yourself what happens the first time you hit 500 in sales. Well, as Bill Engvall says, here's your sign. Understand the first time you miss a sales goal, that's an occurrence. It happens. And you'll just need to adjust to make sure that you're making up for the missing sales because you need that to break even. So you got to be able to make up for that tomorrow. But expect an occasional unexplained occurrence to happen. That's just a part of being in business. The second time you miss sales, that's called a coincidence. We all know coincidences can happen. Two occurrences may be related. They may not be related. It's time to pay attention, but not necessarily take action because you just don't have enough information to act upon. The third time you miss sales, though, that's the beginning of a pattern. Now you got to get serious and take notice, and we have to break that pattern. So what you want to do is determine if there's a reason, like events happening on the other side of town that's pulled the normal traffic to that side of town. Is there road construction nearby? Is it a holiday season? Are there anything that will cause a traffic pattern change? For example, one of the places I used to set up at was right near a Walmart, and that particular part of town was extremely busy. When that Walmart moved and it went to a different part of town so they could have a bigger super Walmart building, that side of town just dried up. And it took it about 5 years to rebuild the traffic pattern back to in that area because Walmart pulled all the people to the other side of town. So a lot of businesses went out of business because they weren't prepared for that kind of a traffic pattern change. If you can't put a direct cause on what's causing your business to miss its sales goal, the next step is to up or change your marketing strategy. I've got a video on marketing, got another presentation on social media. They're both on our Facebook group. The links are in the description. But the idea is to do something. You've already invested time and effort into that particular location. Let's see if we can change something and build it up. At this point, you've missed your break-even point at least 3 times. Remember, this means your bank account to pay upcoming bills is now underfunded. Your marketing not only has to bring you back to the break-even point, but make up for those previous shortfalls. So on the $600 example we've been using all week, if we have a day where we hit 500, that means tomorrow our sales goal has to be 700 to make up for the $100 shortfall. Missing the break-even point several days in a row means you will need several days of beating the goal just to make up the difference. So if you're missing your sales goal by $100 each of 5 days in a row, that means you need to beat your break-even point by $500. You can either do it in one day and have that miracle day of doing $1,100 in sales, or you can do it over several days, but you have to go above your break-even point each of those days. Key takeaway from all of that is you have to make up the shortfall, and you have to know what your break-even point is on a daily basis to even know if you're behind or not. Having said all of that, when do you actually pack it in and go look for another site? I teach people to always be looking for a better site. Always. So on the day that I have signed a contract and I'm going to be setting up someplace in front of a business, I'm looking for another place that's going to be better. You have to understand every vending location has a useful and profitable lifespan. Once that lifespan is exhausted, you must move on. Once you know and accept this, looking for another great site just becomes second nature. Have some places to go makes the decision to pack it in a whole lot easier. The question remains, when do you pull the plug? Well, it's going to be up to you and your bank account. Each day you miss your break-even point is more money your business will require from you personally at some point in the future. Making up a $500 shortfall that we talked about could take weeks of just barely beating your break-even point. So for some folk, a $500 shortfall, that's time to pull the plug. For other folks, it may take a $1,000 shortfall or $10,000 shortfall over a span of weeks or months. Do not allow yourself to get so far behind that all the joy and freedom of business ownership is replaced with depression and despair. That's why I am so into teaching you guys the math on things, so that you know that I made $600 a day. I have paid all my bills. I can be excited because the next guest that comes up is profit. That makes the joy of working so much more intense because you don't have anything to worry about for a day. So if your site normally produces $600 in sales, and that's what it takes for you to achieve your break even, and that it unexplainably stops, plus it doesn't respond to your marketing efforts in a reasonable time frame, you have to consider moving. Determine your pain threshold for the site consistently missing sales, and then move when the site no longer produces those sales. Do it sooner rather than later. So have that threshold in your mind. This is when I am at my panic point, and then also have someplace else to go already lined up. Next week, I'll be back with more training. If you're enjoying our chats, please consider supporting the podcast by clicking the support button. Every little bit does help. If you'd like to make a one-time donation, I have a link in the description for that as well. If you need more information or just like the camaraderie of like-minded positive people, join our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. Thank you guys so much for listening, and stay profitable, my friends.